interviewing some kids for scholarships this year, and I think anyone that's set on the scholarship committee will say that they are some of the most articulate students I've ever seen, very knowledgeable in what you're teaching them. The other big thing that was exciting was we saw you guys had 45 students this year that participated in the fairgrounds, and they raised just about $300,000, so that was exciting, and we were excited to have you guys come and speak to us. Mr. Weber's been at the program for, is taking over the program this year, but it's his third year in Redmond. He grew up in Eastern Oregon and graduated from Western Oregon University. And then Mrs. Smith, this is her third year at the high school. She grew up in Central Oregon and received her degree from the University of Idaho. So we're excited to hear from you.
That's the best I've ever seen anybody do that.
Yeah, I know. It's like you do it every day. Well, good afternoon, everybody. We are excited to be able to get the opportunity to speak to you today. We're thankful for all the support that you've shown us and our students. We're kind of here to just give you an overview of what we do for our agriculture program in general. I know everybody kind of thinks the FFA is what it's all about, which it is, but that's our intracurricular. And we'll kind of give you a breakdown of how that works with what we teach and what we do. Again, we're super thankful. Thanks for having us today. A little bit about us, just to get started. We kind of had a great introduction already. I'm Mr. Weber. I took over for Mr. Hill. Some of you guys might know Mr. Hill, Lance Hill. He's going through a tough time right now. So I stepped in. I used to teach science there at the high school. And I am excited. I'm excited to be teaching agriculture instead of physics and chemistry. So, and then I'll let Mrs. Smith introduce herself.
Hi, my name is Kendall. I am a third-year high school agricultural educator out of the University of Idaho. I grew up here in Central Oregon. I graduated from Mountain View, and I kind of got inspired to teach by some of my ag teachers that I have that are in Bend, and they're the ones that encourage me to create an impact on students, and just like they created an impact on me.
Our first question to you is, how are you guys connected to agriculture? Right? When we think about agriculture, it's a broad spectrum. A lot of people go to the fair, right? That's the big one that stands out. But as we tell students, right, when we're trying to get them into our program, there's lots of other aspects to the agricultural field. So we just want to kind of hear from you guys. Is there anything that comes to your mind? I mean, we're sitting at the golf course. Is there anything that comes to your mind how you're connected to agriculture in general?
Dinner.
Hey, we were talking about that one in the car on the way over. Okay, I'm good with dinner. Anything else? Yeah.
My wife's family is in the cattle business, and all three of the daughters, the youngest of which just graduated from Grant Union High School, all three of them very prominently involved in FFA and a great program. And they benefited greatly from that.
Yeah, and the area that we're in, I mean, it's awesome for those type of opportunities. Yes, ma'am.
My mom grew up on a farm.
Perfect. Okay. Yes, sir.
I've got one. I'm reaching out there. I have a degree in soil science.
Okay.
And I look at soils as I travel around the country and the world. If you look at our soils in the central U.S., those deep, dark soils, look at the soils in Ukraine. They're the same type of soils that our breadbasket has. There's no wonder there's a battle over that soil.
Agreed. Yep. Anything else? Yes, sir.
My grandparents were farmers in southern Idaho.
Okay. That's kind of how I got started too. Parents, yep. Yeah.
Our niece was at FFA studying agriculture at Oklahoma State, and now she's at Willamette studying agricultural law.
Oh, that is cool. We're going to a cool opportunity over in Salem here coming up next month around those issues. Yes.
When I was little, we had a veal ranch.
Oh, okay. Yes, sir.
We have friends in Prineville that have kids in the program, but also I'm a banker and work with farmers in that realm too, so.
Yep, we need money, that's
Yes,
for sure.
Working capital, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, fifth generation meat and cattle out of town.
okay. Did you
Well,
have something?
my mom lived in Nebraska in the southern part by Clark, and they had to leave with the Dust Bowl coming from Dallas.
Okay.
They had to leave.
So, yeah,
And also, I'm a fan of the Oregon High Desert Food and Farm Alliance that Australia did put up to buy local when you can.
gotcha, okay. Well, thank you for sharing, I appreciate it. I am involved in agriculture. I'm similar to you. Parents grew up on a farm out in Eastern Oregon. I didn't know this until I took this job, that my grandpa, he was involved in the Redmond FFA program when it first got started in the 60s. So it's a long-standing program and deep-rooted, so we're excited to share a little bit about it.
So agricultural education is made up of what is called the three-circle model. So every good agricultural education will combine these three things, which is our classroom instruction, which is where kids come every day. They sit in our classes, and we'll talk about our classes and what we teach in a few minutes, but they also have the opportunity to do some stuff outside of the classroom. And that's when we get into the Redmond FFA, the Oregon FFA, the National FFA Association, and what's called a Supervised Agricultural Experience Project, or an SAE. These are opportunities that kids can do outside of the classroom to take the knowledge that they are learning within Mr. Weber and my classes, and they're applying it to their projects. Now, the most common types of SAE projects that you're going to see are the kids that are raising their animals. They are doing what's called an entrepreneurship type project. They're raising steers, they're raising market lambs, they're raising market hogs, and they will sell them at the county fair come August.
Just some of the pathways. So when you think of agriculture, right, in our classrooms, there's technically 12 pathways that students can go into. We, as a two-teacher program, we offer 5 of those pathways. We would love to get a third teacher in order to offer more of those to our students, right? The more opportunities we can offer our students, the better. A couple of things that we do in particular, I'll let Mrs. Smith take this one away to start us out.
All right, so I teach a plant science pathway, or a plant systems pathway. I start off when freshmen come into our courses, they're going to take it's called the Introduction to Agri-Science class. And that's one of my favorite classes to teach because it takes bits and sections of all the other classes that I teach. I combine it all into one so they get a little bit of a feel of what we cover in all of our classes. But within the plant science, we start off with what's called Intro to Ag. Then they have the opportunity to take a floral and nursery operation class. It's really more of a floral design class, so we'll take in the principles and elements of design, and we'll create floral arrangements for events when needed, and also just for fun. Then in the other classes they can do is a greenhouse management course. So in my classroom, I have the greenhouse attached to our classrooms, which allows for hands-on learning really quickly. Come February, we'll get some plants in and we'll start planting all of our flower baskets for the May sale. I think we do a plant sale around Mother's Day for our big, beautiful baskets that we typically grow. And then lastly is landscape design, which is what Mr. Weber is teaching. And it is all designed upon how well you can manage the landscape that is around you, whether it's on a golf course, whether it's the front of the school. And then we usually do some sort of service learning project to apply. We'll fix up some sort of area, whether it's around the school or out in the community, that can they can take the knowledge that they're learning within Mr. Weber's class and apply it directly to that area.
We actually work pretty closely with Juniper Golf Course. We bring the kids out here and check out, and then they kind of give us a tour and show us how they manage their course here. Now, for this one, this is why I was kind of excited to get out of the chemistry realm. I do have to have labs every day. Now the shop is my lab. We have welding, we have mechanics, which is all the different types of welding. We go through MIG, stick, TIG. And then I also have a shop skills class. That's that introductory class. I kind of give them a taste of everything in that: plumbing, concrete, woodworking. As you know, Redmond High is a very prestigious CTE school. So we do a lot of hands-on learning. I work very closely with the welding teacher next to me, and we have a wood shop. So I get the benefit of having kids that go through those programs and then come to me. So I kind of don't have to do all the basics with them on those. We can just start right into projects most of the time. From there, they can move into that Mech 2, the Ag Mechanics 2. We're creating all the stuff that you see at fair, the things that they enter, panels, things that they've created. There's a lot of different projects that we create in that class.
Another one of the pathways that I teach is a food processing and product systems. This is like a food science class. So in the back of my classroom, I have a full kitchen that is associated, and we'll go through and talk about the science behind food, how we get our food, and then why it works the way that it does by fully testing it. We'll make homemade pasta, we'll make cupcakes. They had a baking competition for their final this last term, and it's always a big hit because of the amount of food that they get to eat.
The last two pathways that we really touch on in our program, this would be our animal systems. I'm teaching the B section right now. We just went through A. I like to cover the field, not necessarily going into the vet science, because we have a vet science for that. We're not teaching that this year, but how cattle are produced, what they do in order to get them to auction. Right, our kids are interested in all that stuff. We have a lot of agriculture farms around here, so that's kind of what we do in that animal science. From there, again, like I said, we are going to introduce vet science. We've kind of been off on that one in the last couple of years. I'm new this year, so getting the vet science is pretty in-depth. As you all know, being a vet is not the easiest job in the world, so we would love to get kids into that realm.
The last pathway that we have is an agribusiness. So this pathway, we go over and teach them how to manage their money correctly, go through booking and record keeping. We have a system called AET, which is an agricultural tracker system, and this is where they're able to put all of their data for their supervised agricultural experience projects in there. We can access it, their parents can access it. They're all in charge, it's all their projects, but it's a way for us to keep them accountable. And then we have a leadership class and an ag mentor. So when you become an ag mentor, you're usually one of our people. We'll set you aside. They help us set up labs, they help us in the shop, they help us create some of the things and work hands-on with students, more peer-to-peer instead of teacher-to-peer.
So that's kind of what we do in the classroom. As I mentioned earlier, now we'll get into a little bit of the FFA, which everyone's seen the blue jackets, the gold standards. This is our intracurricular, which we call, right, we're doing this in the classroom as well on top of the pathways that we're talking about. So within our FFA, we do have a lot of leadership opportunities. We have kids, as you've seen at fair, right, that's really where the FFA comes from. Let's just get into it.
Yeah.
Okay. Our mission within the FFA, right? We're creating leaders. You can read it as well. But we're trying to make a positive difference within this community, right? We're shaping kids that are leaders within the community, can go make an impact outside, and essentially can live on their own and have that skill set when they leave us. This is where the FFA comes into play. In our CDE events, those are our career development events. We have tons of things that kids go and compete in. Actually, there's 27 different events you've heard. Right, we talked about soil science. We just got done doing that in Prineville a couple months ago. That's a big competition. We go to state, and then you can go to the national convention, which we also attended this year. Anything else you want to touch on here?
So with that, when you come into our program, we open our program up to 8th graders. Starting in, they're going to be what's called our discovery members, discovery degrees. Once you've gone through, and that's kind of like your first year, you jump in right before high school. You can show as an 8th grader within the FFA, and then once you come into high school as a 9th grader, you have the opportunity to earn your green hand degree. Those are going to be our first or second year members within our program, and then you can slowly work your way up into earning your chapter degree, and then come your junior, senior year, you have the opportunity to earn what's the Oregon FFA state degree, which is recognized here in Redmond coming up in March. And this is in front of all of the members within the Oregon FFA Association, so all the chapters within Oregon. And then every October, November, once you've graduated, you have the opportunity as freshmen or sophomores in college to earn the Golden Key, which is the American degree, and less than 1% of FFA members earn that key, so it's about 4,000 or 5,000 members each year earn that prestigious award. It's an award that we have many students within our chapter, including myself, that have earned that Golden Key.
Yeah, we had 3 this last year receive their American degree at the National Convention. So, the leadership opportunities within FFA, they are abundant, but this group of students right here does a great job. This is our leadership team this year. We have an executive team and a green hand team. So, our executive team are our sophomore, junior, seniors, and then our green hand team kind of goes along with that degree that they can earn. Those are going to be the ones underneath them. They're learning. They're going to events with them, but they're kind of shadowing our executive team. These guys also really, we put a lot of responsibility on them. We meet with them every Tuesday. We go. They're really a big help in leading our organization.
I can do this one.
Okay.
So some of our leadership development events, just like we have career development events, we have leadership development events. And we're focusing in on creating those soft skills that employers are looking upon. Right now we have public speaking events. We're coming into our public speaking season. And we'll do everything from creed speaking, which is giving a 5-paragraph memorized speech of our FFA organization. We'll move into beginning public speaking, where they create a 3 to 5 minute speech. And then it gets a little bit more difficult leading up to our prepared, which is going to be our more juniors, seniors. They're preparing a 6 to 8 minute speech on a topic of their choice within agriculture. And then they have the opportunity to do extemporaneous public speaking, where they draw from a topic of 30, and they have 30 minutes to prepare a 4 to 6 minute speech. So we have quite a few kids that are interested in our public speaking. We go through a lot of job interviews. Last year, one of my students, Grace, she placed 5th within the state within job interview. So we go through into our cover letters, resumes, letters of recommendation, and then they go through a full interview process, which has been really fun to coach. And then we do parliamentary procedure and conduct of chapter, which is how do you run a meeting efficiently. And then lastly, we have marketing plan and issues, putting together a marketing plan, how that affects the way that agricultural consumers and producers may work with products.
And we actually, this year, have taken it upon ourselves. We're trying to get to every one of these events just to make sure that we have kids that are exposed to these type of things. I know in the past we haven't gone to every single one, and we've kind of wiped the floor a few times, but this year we're going to go and make sure we do it so we can learn. A couple of other things that we do. Again, we listed those 27 different CDEs, those events, those CDEs and LDEs that kids can compete in. They really kind of flow into the classes that we teach, right? When Mrs. Smith and she teaches that greenhouse, we teach about soils. I teach about soils in my classes as well. Everything on here you'll see within the class. So they're getting hands-on experiences, and then we're kind of taking kids who are the top kids in those events that are interested, right? Having an interest in these things is important. Forcing a kid to do them is kind of hard. So the thing that gets them interested is us being interested in them. I know that almost everything on here we've went and competed on or plan to within the year. Go ahead.
So SAE projects, like I said, those are our supervised agricultural experience projects, and they allow to apply what students are learning in the class and apply them to their projects. There are 2 main types. There's what's called a foundational project, and they get started with that inside our classrooms. That's when they can do their journal entries and their financial entries right within our classes. A good one of that is within Mr. Weber's shop skills class. If they do a project, they can journal about that and create kind of that record-keeping process. And then we have what's called our immersion SAE projects, And this is when kids really get to either own their animal or they're doing some sort of job within the community that is agriculturally related. They also have the opportunity to do research or some sort of service learning project as well within that. And then so these are some of our kids within our program. They have projects with market hogs and steers. They also, this last year, we created this new process where we were working with the Unified Sports at Redmond, and they were able to come in, and all of our special needs students were handling a market lamb class, which was a ton of fun for these kids to get exposure to animals that they may not get to regularly be with.
Oh, go ahead, Mrs. Joyce. I can do it.
No, it's okay. So last year I created this website. It's the Redmond FFA website. So if you just type Redmond FFA into Google, it will pop up with everything that we do within our chapter. You can find our contacts, our calendars. I spent a lot of time going through. There's legacies, there's history, there's what we do in the FFA, what our alumni does, what type of career development events that they can do. So this is just a resource for you guys if you're ever wondering how to connect with us and you're not able to. This would be the place to start. You definitely can find a lot of information off of our website.
Some of the things that we do within the community, right? You see these jackets around. We do a lot of community service events, whether that's going and helping out at dinners, just helping out with food drives. We're having one of those right now. Our I Believe banquet that we put on, an auction, is here coming up in February, and we have a few things for you for that one. And then you guys, right, have given us some scholarships, and we use those all the time to help out within the community. Anything else on those? Okay. What you can do to help our program, you can follow us on our Facebook page. We're always posting pictures. There's lots of things to look at on there. Some of our events, right? We have these CDE events. If you would like to show up and help us out with those, we're always looking for judges. We're always looking. We're happy to have you attend at the fair. If you ever are wondering what's going on, again, that website has it listed, has a calendar on it. If you want to come, have at it. And the last thing, right here, we're looking for some donations for our I Believe banquet. We actually have a paper that I can pass around. We are looking from anything for money donations all the way to handcrafts, canning. Well, this is for our I Believe banquet. So we raise a lot of money for our program through that.
The I Believe is kind of like our biggest fundraiser of the year. It's kind of like our only fundraiser. We have roughly we do it in conjunction with our Redmond FFA alumni, and we raise about $80,000 for our chapter. And for this covers all of our travel expenses, classroom supplies, and it allows us to take the stress of money off of our students and allow them to take them on really cool opportunities. Mr. Weber and I are traveling at least once a month, if not more, to take these kids on really cool trips.
We traveled a little bit more than once a month. But that costs money, so.
So yeah, that's kind of all we have.
Questions? Yes, sir.
When I was in school, there was the city kids and the rural kids.
Yep.
And the city kids get involved with FFA.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah.
And what part? I mean, that they want to be farmers, or that they just want to be part of the rural experience?
Well, and that's kind of some of the outlook we've had to change, right? It's not all about being a farmer. We don't expect you to go out and raise your own cattle and have a farm. And there's lots of different on that business side of it. Okay, let's look into how are you going to run a business? How are you going to provide to the agricultural experience in different avenues? In the shop, right? You don't have to have a farm in order to fabricate things within the shop. Anything else? I mean, I try to get everybody involved. There's something within agriculture. There's a niche that everybody can do, whether you're a farmer or not. Yeah.
I'm a retired school administrator, and if there was one program, just one, I could enter my school, it would be FFA. My daughter is a COO in a large international company. She got her start in FFA, learning how to speak, learning how to keep records, learning to know those sorts of things. Never intended to be a farmer, but you did a great job through what FFA did. So you guys ought to be commended for what you did.
Thank you. Yeah.
Does Ben have does your school have a 4-H?
We work closely with the 4-H. Mrs. Smith can probably speak to this better than I can. Once you come that 8th grade year, you kind of get to decide, would you rather go into the FFA or would you rather stay with your 4-H program? So 8th grade is really when kids get to decide.
And we have kids that do both.
Yes.
The main difference between 4-H and FFA is FFA has a classroom component, where 4-H doesn't necessarily have a class that they are going to every day. It's more on their own time, along with working with their leaders independently, versus with our kids within the FFA chapter, we see them almost every day.
And we really try to get that across to them when kids are like, I don't know if I want to do FFA, it seems hard. We're like, well, you get to do it in the classroom instead of going to these outside meetings where you're meeting with your 4-H group. Right? Yes, ma'am.
Do you have businesses locally that do internships with your kids?
We have a few, yeah. We would love to get some more connects. I mean, as you know, I'm new, and yeah, making connections with different businesses would be awesome.
I know that a lot of kids, we've had kids that work closely with internships with veterinarians. Like if they're interested in going into the next field, we work with Dr. Cassie Terry a lot. She's one that sits on our advisory committee, and she's had students that have come in and done internships under her as well.
Questions? Good? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you're looking to donate anything, I'll set these sheets right over here.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, before we do the pictures, I just want to throw a quote out there. Inspired by Michelle to do this during her year last year. I think it's important. So, quote about future farmers. Quote, do not underestimate the power of young farmers with a dream, for they are the pioneers of tomorrow's food system. All right. With that,
Thank you.
for each of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. Okay, you know, I feel very good.
We work closely with rollbacks. They donated a jacket for
I know.